Hi friends, in our time together today, I'm going to introduce for us the tune Wild Mountain Thyme. Some of you probably already know this, but we all should. So let's go through it. It's a beautiful tune that you're going to love playing. Um, there are a couple alternate names that are popular that I really like. One is called Purple Heather, and the other, Will Ye Go, Lassie, Go. It's a slower tune. We've been playing a few faster ones recently, working on that skill, and I wanted us to step back to a popular slower tune to work on, to maintain our focus on tone quality, transitions, breath control, and such that we have to do with a slower tune. And actually, from everything I hear from you all, everybody's doing so well. Congratulations on your growth in playing. Remember, if you're having any difficulties, reach out to the rest of us. Just comment on one of the videos, and I and others will chime in. The tune is listed on the session website as a barn dance. I think that's because it's in 4/4 time, and it has almost a bit of a barn dance swing to it. And the session website doesn't have a category called air. So they had to stick it in a box somewhere. And it may help you if you've not seen the video. I'll post a card at the top to the video where I talk about the difference between an air, a slow air, and a slow air. It's so funny. Anyway, but it's helpful. I found the distinctions, it helped me out a lot, and I wanted to share them. So I'll, as usual, walk through the tune standing so you could see my fingers. I'll play it without any ornaments except some tonguing to differentiate between some of the repeated notes. After that, we'll talk about any difficulties you may experience with the tune, some ornamentation, and then just some interesting thoughts on the history of this tune, because this one is such a good example of how tunes flow through space and time. I found it a little challenging to accurately transcribe this tune. First, I had to make sure it was playable either in the keys of D or G for our whistles. And then I listened to different groups singing it. A few folks playing it on instrumentals, on the whistle, but primarily to folks singing it, because I wanted to take it a step back to earlier versions, and so I went back even to the McPeak family, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So I crafted the transcription, which I don't think is going to be very different than most anything else you'll find. And to be honest, when you're transcribing a song that is something that is sung, your transcription is going to really depend upon the verse you used, or which one you like, or which rhythm you found to be most consistent between the verses. So, yeah, there are lots of versions out there. I think this one's helpful for you. So, put all that in your brain for when we get to the history. Let me play for us Wild Mountain Thyme. Okay, so that's the tune from the Play Along with Scott section. And I'll add chapters so that you can go back to that if you're not a music and tabs fan. And I'll provide the music and tabs to download for you if you like to use those. And again, feel freedom of expression with the tune, but listen to some people playing it. That'll help you out. As far as difficulties go, I don't think the tune really has playability difficulties. It's an opportunity, like I said, to work on tone quality, transitions, and breath control, because it's going to be a little more, it's going to be slower and more expressive. And I'll play it soon for us. But I think the challenge will be on deciding how to express the tune as you play it. Do you want it thoughtful? Do you want it heartfelt? And that's actually, I know the Ornaments conversation is next, but the way you want the tune to feel is going to determine the kind of ornaments you use. So, do you want to slide into it more? Do you want to pause with some vibrato on some of the phrases to just thoughtfully leave some of the notes hanging, as it were, vibrato die off, and then step into the next phrase? How do you want to handle the repeated notes? Do you just want to hold them and maybe put a little roll in the middle, or do you want to cut into one of them? See, the challenge is going to be, what am I doing with this tune? I hope that helps. I do want to share some of the history of the tune. The tune itself, it doesn't have this rich old history that we could tell of the tune itself. The history of this one is really the history of the flow of the tune from place to place and time to time. We'll call this one a Scots-Irish tune. The best phrase I read was from a gentleman named Kenneth Goldstein, who, in speaking of Wild Mountain Thyme, said, and I quote, "A beautiful song knows no national boundaries, as witness this hauntingly lovely Irish variant of an 18th century Scottish ballad." Isn't that a delightful description? And that, I think, also encapsulates some of the history. So there was a mid-18th century ballad that we don't accurately know much about. And then the Scottish poet Robert Tannahill wrote a poem called The Braes of Baltheater. I know I'm butchering the name, and I'll put it up there. And a brae is a hill or a hillside. And so the song is about the lovely hillsides around the place. And then the composer, Robert Smith, had massaged the old Scottish ballad that Robert Tannahill used, Smith's version of the ballad, to combine it with his poem to create the song. Then Francis McPeak from Belfast, a musician, was traveling in Scotland. He heard the tune, and this is actually from an interview, and he said, "I heard the tune and it was hauntingly beautiful, and I had to have my own version of it." And so the McPeak family website says, McPeakmusic.com, says that between the years 1948 and 1950 that Francis wrote Wild Mountain Thyme. The tune is massaged some from the Scottish version, and the words are, it's kind of the idea behind some of the tune, but it's massaged by McPeak as a love song to his wife who had died. And it's actually reported that he later remarried and his son added a verse about that. So it's kind of fun. See, place, time, transitioning. The song lives, but it has different variants. And I found that really fascinating. And it's sung by and recorded by everybody and their brother. All the suspects you'd expect of Irish groups recording it. And so many wonderful recordings. So many fun YouTube videos of musicians playing this and even showing stories. But in addition to that, I found a recording by Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, James Taylor. It's fun. The song, the tune, the song starts taking on a life of its own. You want to protect the heritage, but you want to allow the tune to live. So you are going to love playing Wild Mountain Thyme. I know it. So enjoy this tune, experiment with it, express it, emote it, and learn from it as well. Anyway, my friends, this is Scott Shade. Until next time, happy low D whistling.